y'all tested this mic?
Yeah,
Okay.
we tested it.
Okey-dokey.
Yeah, last week Wayne couldn't hear anything. Partly because people had it up here. Now I'm a little bit concerned that Norwood's won't show up in time.
Oh, no, I just saw them.
Oh, you did? Okay, they're here. Excellent.
They are here somewhere.
They're here somewhere. Yeah, there. There they are. Cool.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Joanna. Welcome home. For those of you for whom this is not your first time, I will remind you that every September we change the liturgy, so things in the service may be in a little bit different place. Don't be afraid of some change, as we will sing in our first hymn. Unitarian Universalism is unambiguously, unapologetically progressive. This church affirms the inherent worth and dignity of all people through anti-racism, anti-oppression, supporting the LGBTQIA+ community, working for reproductive justice, voting rights, and other issues as needed. We seek to build beloved community not only here, but in our surrounding area. And we bring a spirit of joy to it all. The very prolific author Anonymous wrote, "Unanswered questions are far less dangerous than unquestioned answers." For Unitarian Universalists, asking questions comes with the territory. For many of our members, asking questions has been a significant part of their lives. And in many cases, their questioning is part of what led you here. Here, questions are not only welcome, they are celebrated. Our understanding of truth is that it belongs to all of us. There is no one person, no one book, no one authority that has all the answers. Part of our responsibility of being in this faith community is that we are willing to bring our questions, listen to how others answer, and engage in respectful dialogue about our beliefs. And that is what we are doing today in a very different kind of a service. This is our question box service, which has a long tradition in many UU congregations. So we are now, if you don't already have index cards and pens, we're going to be passing those out. Thank you very much. So I invite you to write a question for me right now. It could be about Live Oak, or about theology, or current events, or Unitarian Universalism, or whatever is on your heart and mind. In the interest of right relationship, please put your name on it, but don't worry, I will not be announcing who asked what. So the cards, you can just hold them after you write your question on. The cards are going to be collected in a few minutes, and then during this service, I will respond to as many of the questions as time allows. I reserve the right to use any that I can't get to as newsletter column ideas or maybe even sermon ideas for the next year. It is so good to be together this morning. Would you please now rise either in body or in spirit for our opening hymn, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In.
Good morning. My name is Linda McCullough, and I have to tell you one thing I love about Live Oak, and there are so many, and I've thought about this all week, but I have to say, the one thing I love about Live Oak right now is the music. Thank you, Curtis. I'd like to welcome any guests we have today, and if this is your first time, please stop at the visitors table out in front so we can meet you and answer any questions you might have about us. As part of our mission, we want to enhance the connections between each of us and also with the outside world. You can stay connected with everything that's happening here at Live Oak through the weekly email newsletter, and you will find a link on our homepage. During this worship service, please don't shut off your cell phones. We encourage you to post on social media any things that you hear today, and maybe even invite a friend to come with you next week. And now, here and at home, we will light our chalice. The reading is Daybreak by Robin F. Gray. Day breaks on our gratitude for family and friends, for the freedom to find our own truth, for the company of those who gather here, and the promises we offer one another. Let the light of day bring the grace of faith into our lives. And now, let's do our affirmation. If you will all read along with this, if you feel like so doing. We affirm a caring community of and for all ages, seeking wisdom, doing service, and living with integrity. In our diversity, our covenant holds us in unity as we celebrate our shared spiritual journey. Now, I know you're all looking forward to this. It's stewardship season. And for the next few weeks, there will be someone coming to speak at every service. And this week, we're inviting Joel Burkew to come forward and testify about what this church means to him. Joel, and I will not tell you secrets I know about his childhood.
Well, and before I get started too, I just want to let everybody know in terms of stewardship, we've sent out letters encouraging people to make their pledges, and also we're going to have people outside by the food area. So when you get your food, then we'll kind of talk to you about stewardship and how to pledge. And there's a couple ways that you can pledge. There's a form that you can fill out, or there's actually a QR code if you're technology abled, and fill it out on your phone as well. So I know that Linda said that she had lots of secrets about me, and I have a lot of secrets about her too. And one of the things, I grew up as a Unitarian Universalist, and a little known fact is that Linda was actually my teacher when I was in elementary school. And yes, that's one of the secrets. But I learned a lot when I grew up as a UU, especially about other faiths and religions, and also a little bit about what I would like to believe as well. And I moved around. I moved to Indiana, and then I moved to California, and we went to various churches. And then we moved to Austin, and Linda had called me up and said, why don't you come down to Live Oak UU? We've got this wonderful minister, and just see if you like it. And I came in, and I have to say the minister was great, and also the congregation was great. Everybody really welcomed me to be part of this. And then as I started to come in to the congregation, I started to get a little bit more involved, maybe a lot more involved with the church. But then as we had challenges that came up, we had things like the COVID pandemic, etc. I think as a congregation, we were able to come together and really make it through this and really thrive beyond that. So to me, I feel like even through these struggles, I think that our congregation has really gotten close together. And so this is why I love coming to Live Oak, and I'm going to continue to pledge and my support for membership. So thank you.
A special part of Unitarian Universalist Sunday services is the time of sharing joys and sorrows. I think of it as the time when we keep vigil for one another, when we give one another the gift of being present to those among us who have had some special milestone in their own personal lives during the previous week, or some particular joy or sorrow that it's important for the congregation to know. And let's see here. Today, the McCulloughs share, today is the anniversary of the worst and best day of our lives. Worst because our son had planned to visit the Twin Towers before catching a flight back to Austin. Best because he overslept and decided there wasn't time. We were lucky, luckier than so many. And Edith Waters shares on Tuesday, Edith and Liz Waters will celebrate 6 years of marriage. And Rosie shares her joy. I get to go get bagels for lunch at Biderman's Deli. Often, what is heavy on our hearts are our own fears that we have fallen short. We know that we have left undone those things which we ought to have done, and we have done those things which we ought not to have done. May we have the courage to be honest with ourselves, the willingness to make amends, and the compassion to accept forgiveness from others and from ourselves, trusting in the assurance that imperfection is expected, and love is the guiding and healing force with which we can align our lives. Please join me in singing our Joys and Sorrows response. Those question cards. Here is a basket, and bring them forward. And now it is my great joy to introduce our new Director of Lifespan Faith Development, Chris Jarmon, all the way from Florida. Have you ever wrestled an octopus before? Well, guess what? Our new DLFD has, and rumor has it she lost the match. Chris Jarmon has arrived to us through a winding journey of experiences. She grew up in Jacksonville, Florida, attending FSU for a few years before deciding to follow the wind with her husband aboard the Schooner Naima. Okay. The octopus wrestling happened somewhere in that time. You'll have to ask her. 20 years and 1 kid later, they decided to move ashore, but not in the expected way. They bought an RV and traveled around the States for 4 years before buying a home and then finishing her degree in elementary and special education. Chris discovered Unitarian Universalism in 2000 while searching for a faith that lived its values out loud. The Reverend Forest Church's words, "Know us by our deeds, not our creeds," spoke to Chris's heart, and she never looked back. She jumped right in, working with religious education, social justice, and youth ministry. She comes directly to us, having served as the Director of Lifespan Religious Education at Buckman Bridge UU Church in Jacksonville. Please give a warm welcome to our new DLFD.
Good morning. Let's do it again. Ready? Good morning.
Good morning.
Ooh, I love that energy. I love it. So today is Question Box Sunday. And so Reverend Joanna and I were talking. I'm like, what a great time for you to ask me questions. And let's get to learn a little bit about each other. So I've told you a little bit about me, but I also have some questions that were sent in that I'm going to answer. And then we're going to flip it around. So the first question I had was, what are your pet peeves? Okay. My pet peeve is just be kind. It's so easy to be kind. It's so easy to choose compassion and to choose kindness. And when we don't do that, that's a pet peeve of mine. Remember to take a deep breath and think about kindness. So that was my first question. I wonder what your pet peeves are. I wonder what they are. Do you have a favorite Disney or Pixar movie? Can we get any wider? Let's see. Let's see. I love Soul because I love the message. I love Inside Out because it talks about emotions and how we need to use them and express them and how they make us truly and authentically who we are. I love, let's see, Coco. Ah, what a beautiful message about love and generational love. And of course, Wall-E. Because of its it talks to us about the environment and what we need to be doing, right? Anybody here like Wall-E? Raise your hand if you like Wall-E. Awesome. Do you have any pets? Well, okay, you got time? Okay, so I have a dog. He's 3 years old. His name is Dax. He's a mini Aussie. He's a handful. I have a 14-year-old cat that adopted us. Like, we opened our front door and he just walked in. He's never left. We have a 12-year-old cat that's blind, but you would never know it. And then I have a 1-year-old cat who is, let's just call him Chaos. He's just chaos. He's awesome. And here's another question. What do you love most about Uuism, about Unitarian Universalism? I want you to think about this too. What is your most favorite thing about your faith? So for me, there's so many aspects. But I'm going to go with that this faith allows you to bring your whole self, your authentic self, that you are enough and that you are loved and you are welcome in this faith. So, I wonder what your answers are to these questions, and we'll be talking about that during our RE time. That is for everybody today, but we'll talk more about that later. So, thank you for the warm welcome. I am so excited to be here with you, and I can't wait to see what we create, what we grow together. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to have a theme hymn today. Would you please rise in body or spirit for hymn number 139, Wonders Still the World Shall Witness.
Sons and daughters.
reading today. It's called Sometimes by David White. Sometimes, if you move carefully through the forest, breathing like the ones in the old stories who could cross a shimmering bed of dry leaves without a sound, you come to a place whose only task is to trouble you with tiny but frightening requests, conceived out of nowhere but in this space, beginning to lead everywhere. Requests to stop what you are doing right now and to stop what you are becoming while you do it. Questions that can make or unmake a life. Questions that have patiently waited for you. Questions that have no right to go away.
Boy, you guys don't make it easy. I'm in my 9th year here at Live Oak. Thank you. My point was, like the first year I did this, I was getting questions like, what's your favorite color? Now, like, as you're going to hear, we're done with those easy ones. Okay, but this one, the congregation, and especially a certain team in the congregation, can absolutely answer. When was this church established? 30 years ago. This on October the 1st, we will be celebrating our 30th anniversary. Now, it does say when was the church established, so that is Live Oak was established then. When was Unitarian Universalism established? 1961, Gold Star. When was Unitarianism established?
17-something.
Yes, very good. And Universalism? Yes. And Those I will also say in terms of when was Unitarianism established and Universalism established, those are capital U as in religious associations that now make up what we are. But in terms of theology, little u, universal salvation, little u, Unitarian, non-Trinitarian, that goes back to the very beginning of the church. Okay, another question. Are all UU churches like this? No. And yes, there are certain things that we have in common. In fact, our principles. When you hear about our principles, those are not a creed. That's not a statement of a belief. That is a sacred to-do list that if you want to be a UU congregation, not a UU individual, but a UU congregation, you say, we covenant that we are going to work to make these things true. And so in terms of that, there are many similarities. But every UU church is independent. We call our own ministers, hire our own staff, pass our own bylaws, and come up with our own money. And so each congregation has a different personality. If you come and this is your first time, if I am chatting with you after the service, what I will always tell you is, so if you've seen one UU church, you've seen one UU church. Go around. I hope you come back here. I have a little bit of a bias. I think these people are the best. But go to the other UU churches and find the one that best fits you. Okay. Why do beans not belong in chili? For those who don't know, I'm a 7th generation Texan and do have some opinions, but actually, do you know that there's two answers and one is actually very pragmatic. So the first answer to why in Texas do you traditionally not put beans in chili is because, again, tradition. And part of that comes from like the chili queens of San Antonio, but it also comes from cowboy life. And I understand the concept that, tradition is just peer pressure from dead people, but I also believe that there is a value in tradition, and especially regional traditions, and knowing the stories behind them, knowing why we have these. And so Cincinnati chili, you know, that stuff that's like over spaghetti, good for them because it comes from this whole tradition of a Greek immigrant family. I mean, I'm not going to be eating it or anything, but it is good for regions to have their own traditions. But then here's the pragmatic answer with chili. In Texas, sorry y'all, I'm also a culinary historian. In Texas, chili is not just a dish. In other places, chili's a dish, period. For us, chili is a dish and it is also an ingredient. You put it over enchiladas. Friday Night Lights would not be the same without Frito pie, am I right? Or hot dogs or anything, or mixing it in queso. And so simply from a culinary thing, you keep the beans separate from the chili. Okay, that's enough about chili church service. In the past, has our religion ever been wrong about anything important? And how did we repair? Great question. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And we need to face that. We need to have the humility to look into our past and know that there were people that in some ways they saw very clearly and their words still resonate today, and in other ways, how could they have been so far off the mark? There were Unitarians who owned slaves. There were Universalists who believe in universal salvation, who owned slaves. And we also had so many conductors on the Underground Railroad who not only rejected that, but worked for anti-slavery. So I think a part of it is looking at it and seeing what we can learn, and then looking at our current context and saying, okay, what are the things that right now, 40 years from now, UUs are going to be embarrassed about? I think that'd be helpful for all of us. How do you respond when someone declares that all religions are bad? Ooh, I get this. As a minister, man, when someone finds out that I'm a minister, I get this fairly often. Here's what I don't do. I don't answer. Or I don't answer with facts or trying to plead my case. Because if someone comes up and wants to say to me, all religions are bad, there's probably a whole lot of pain under that. And so I switch from being any kind of a prophetic voice or a preacher, and I put on the pastor hat and I say, tell me about your experience with church. And we focus on that because a lot of times there is unhealed wounds. Now, that being said, there are some people that you can ask them all that and it's really not unhealed wounds. It's just, frankly, that they're kind of a jerk, right? And they are doing what is called a bad faith argument, right? That's when someone doesn't actually want to enter into dialogue with you. They just want to debate, and they are absolutely not going to be open to changing their mind in any ways. Some of you are great debaters. Some of you love to debate. Believe me, some of you love to debate. I am a terrible debater. I do not enjoy it. And so those conversations, I pretty much, I listen to what they have to say and I get out of it pretty quick. Regarding separation of church and state, why do so many churches, including this one, seem to have political messaging from the pulpit? And the writer did write the word seem to have political messaging. I'm going to emphasize that because in terms of other churches, and we have seen this, right? There are some that at this point are not even pretending anymore. They are getting up in the pulpit, they are saying hateful things, and they are saying you need to vote this way or you are a bad person. If you hear anything from this pulpit in a worship service that seems political to you, if it's me, come and ask me about it. If it's someone else, go and ask them about it. Because I'm willing to bet that it's not a political thing. It may be political in that people may be voting on things. There are things that, frankly, we should not be voting on. Human rights should not be something that we vote on. Thank you. And so if you hear something here, it is because something in our religion is being attacked. And right now, there's a whole heck of a lot that is being attacked. And so it is our job to fight back against this. I do believe that you should take your religious values into the voting booth. Sometimes you'll hear people talk about separation of church and state, but on an individual level, your religious beliefs should be what you allow to guide your life because they're yours. Now that's the other thing, right? We're a UU church. And so anything that you believe is something that you have chosen and not something that you have been told to believe. But those beliefs mean nothing if we allow the world to just keep doing whatever it is. The democratic process, that's one of those commitments in our principles that we made as a UU congregation. When we said, yes, we want to be a UU congregation, we said we are going to work to make these come true. And right now, we are seeing the democratic process be ripped away. So yeah, that's not a political thing for me. That's a religious thing. And we will hear about it. But you will not hear me telling you how to vote. I have trouble considering Uuism a religion. To me, religion means belief in a deity, which most of us do not have. So I would say, here in the West, that has been the big con that has been put over on us because in the West, Christianity has been the dominant religion. And so because of that, we then define religion on their terms. It's not really any different than those who want to define marriage as being between a man and a woman, and then have all of their questions, right? Because that's the definition of marriage to them. And we, of course, say, that's not the definition of marriage. And so in terms of religion, we and the Buddhists and so many more would say that's not the definition of religion. I have come to a very simple understanding of Uuism. I think we often make it too complicated. Now, first of all, you need to know religion. The word comes from the word religare, which means to bind. So then the question is, what is our religion? What binds us together? And in 1866, a Unitarian, James Freeman Clarke, said, using more flowery language than this, what if we had a church or even a denomination where people came together not around belief, but because of a commitment to get good and to do good? And so to me, the religion of Unitarian Universalism is the one that brings people together. We don't do it alone. It brings us together so that we can get good and do good. So yeah, I think we're a religion. What are the right steps, process, means to bring people back into right relationships here at Live Oak? Wonderful question. The health of our community is based in relationships. And so we have a whole system for this. We have a whole committee for this called the Healthy Community Team. But where it starts is very simple: direct communication. If I have an issue with someone else, I talk to them directly. If they have an issue with me or with another member, they talk to them directly. And let me say that's easy to say, but it's hard, right? Our culture does not encourage direct communication. And as an old Southern lady, I would say especially Southern white culture has all these things. And it's not just Southern, right? Like, did anyone see My Big Fat Greek Wedding? Anyone? I'm sure y'all did, right? Remember when the mom says, yes, the man is the head of the household, but the woman is the neck, and she can turn the head whatever way she goes. But we need to be open and honest about the fact that our culture, because there are power differentials between man and woman, between races, between professional status, children and adults, there are all of these different things that constantly are giving us the message to do workarounds, right? Don't talk directly to this person, talk to them, maybe they'll get involved. And that is the key to dysfunction. So that's the first thing, is number one, direct communication. And those power differentials do exist. And none of us are perfect at direct communication. So we have this healthy community team. And so you can go and you can talk. If you look on our website, you'll see who's in there. You can also simply email hct@liveoakuu.org, and you can say, hey, I have this issue. And then someone on that team is going to help you, again, with talking directly to that person. The one thing we don't do anonymous feedback, because that kills community. Because if I go to Carrie and I'm sorry, I'm totally picking on y'all, and Hella has had a complaint about Carrie, and I go to Carrie and I say, so some people are saying, then that means that Carrie, her relationship has just been broken with every member of the congregation, because she will look at every person and go, is it you? Is it you? Is it you? So everything we do is still based on direct communication. Okay. I have two questions that kind of go together. For many, our religion is a source of comfort as we face difficulties in life. I grew up hearing God had a plan and that God wouldn't give us more than he knew we could handle, etc. In a religious community in which we may not all be on the same page with regards to a set of beliefs, and where we are taught it's okay and even encouraged to question things, where do you find comfort in your faith in difficult times? And then what I think kind of goes with that is, how do we keep hope alive when so many of our countrymen have shown that they hate and fear democracy and progress? So this is where I think that the role of faith, your personal faith, versus belief, this is where it can separate based on one crucial question that I think that we UUs often don't ask. We are really into the whole question of like, you know, what is factual and what is true, and we want all of the answers, including the things we cannot have answers to. And so here's my question. What idea, don't even call it a belief, what idea serves you well so that you can do what it is that you need to do? And this can be in different situations. I know it was very liberating to me when I was in my young 20s, and I'd been raised UU, but very kind of rigidly humanist of if you can't prove it by the scientific method, then throw it away, right? And I had a minister whose brother was dying of Lou Gehrig's disease. And he was as humanist as it comes, but he said, you know what, right now I am hurting so bad, and it brings me comfort to feel that I will see my brother again in some other life. And either I'm right, in which case great, or I'm wrong, but I won't know it because there won't be anything. So what's important is what serves me well right now. And I would say that also goes right now when we are living through difficult times, and we are living through incredibly difficult times. What is it? What is the article of faith that you can hold on to that will keep you going? Let's see. Okay, pulling up another question that goes along with this. Do you really believe that the arc of the universe tends towards justice? It seems more probable that the tide comes in and then ebbs inevitably. For me, and this is only for me, this is a personal thing. So, arc of the universe, which you're going to be hearing more about this fall. Barack Obama has quoted it, MLK quoted it, but it came from a Unitarian. And Theodore Parker, when he said it, this country was in the midst of slavery. He kept a gun in his pulpit to protect any of the runaway slaves that he was helping on the Underground Railroad. And yet he said, I can't see with my eye, but I believe that the arc of the universe, I can feel it in my heart, and I believe that the arc of the universe bends towards justice. And then after that, he said, things refuse to be mismanaged long. I do not always believe that. I have decided in my life at this time to take that as an article of faith and to live my life as if it is true, because that then propels me to do more, to feel that there is a force in the universe that is urging me on. Now, I would say you could have that exact same belief, but if you use it to sit back and say, I ain't got to worry about all of this, arc of the universe bends towards justice, it's going to be fine, then that is a belief that does not serve you well, and I would discard it. So it really comes down to what serves you well, and what is your purpose, what are you here to do? Where did we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Okay, really? I will say this. And this is something very important, especially for a religious leader to be able to say. I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. And our Unitarian Universalist theology gives us some really clear answers that do resonate to me, which is wherever we came from, we all came from the same place, and wherever we're going, we are all going to the same destiny. How does anyone decide what is good action? I think that with this is where we get to our personal guiding principles, not UU principles. All of us should be really clear about what are the core values of our life and what are the principles. And some of y'all know, I think you should write them down. What are the principles in your life that you are going to allow to guide your decisions? Because this thing about how does anyone decide what is good action, I think we need to get rid of this idea that there is an objective knowledge of what that is. Yes, there's the obvious things, like don't go kill people for fun, right? Come on, that's what they call it, straw horse, straw man, whatever, straw man. If you have a set of deeply interrogated values, things that you have really thought through, and then you have chosen this is a principle that I am going to allow to guide my life. And if you go back to it whenever you have to make decisions, then I would say that you are acting through good action. Because we have to make choices. There is so much work to do right now. And laws, y'all. The Texas Ledge is coming back into session in January every 2 years. I hate to tell you if you haven't realized it, they are coming back in January. And before, we could have some faith of, but we know that the Supreme Court won't let it get too radical. And so then and now, we have to make our own decisions. What is most important to me, and how do I live that out? Whether it is telling Uncle Bob that you're not going to stay around when he says something racist, or getting in your car and driving to the Capitol to take part in social witness. Okay, just a couple more here. Let's see. Okay, so another important thing about being a Unitarian Universalist is that we do not do all of this work alone. I am an expert in a few things, but there's a whole lot of things that I absolutely am not. So here's some questions, and if you are an expert and can answer these, if you would raise your hand. So it looks like in one family we've got a topic that is going. So one question is, how does evolution work? And this next one is, how did dinosaurs evolve? Who is someone who can answer that question with some, come on, I know we got some scientists in the congregation. Bill's not yet, everyone's going, Bill Dower, our scientist. Oh, come on. Okay. I'm throwing my husband under the bus. He knows a lot about dinosaurs. So raise your hand, Mr. Tom. Curtis. Oh, yes. Hi, we have an actual teacher here.
Not really, just a tutor.
Yes.
But
okay.
I would say the dinosaurs wake up every day and make one decision and change from that one decision, and then the next day happens, which they didn't decide, and make another different decision, and then their life is plotted and they are changing always.
Where are these dinosaurs?
Oops, we're running out of time. I don't want an answer. I just want someone to raise their hand if they think they can answer this. Are the Dallas Cowboys going to win their game tonight? Who can answer that one? No one. Oh, okay. Some of our younger leaders over here can answer that. Okay, go and talk to them. I'm serious. Go find them and ask and get them. Okay. I have some kind of specific kind of questions that are about like the workings of Live Oak, definitely look for answers to those in the newsletter. And I will end with this one. Did you have any memorable / spiritual / exciting encounters with nature during your sabbatical? I went to Big Bend, and I went to Montana, and I went to Tennessee, and I had many, and you're going to be hearing about some of them this year. But one was, we were down on the Kootenai River in Montana, and it was one of those days where we said, like, we're just going to sit here for a few hours and just enjoy this. We're not going to be hiking, to the next place or whatever. And as we were sitting there, I got pictures of it. A butterfly came and first landed on like my backpack, and then came and just sat on my hand and seemed content to sit there forever. And that felt very spiritual to me. Okay, I invite you now to join me in a time of reflection, in word and in silence. Make yourself a little bit more comfortable, and close your eyes if you are comfortable doing that. In a 1903 letter, Rilke wrote, "I want to beg you, as much as I can, dear sir, to be patient toward all that is unsolved in your heart, and try to love the questions themselves, like locked rooms and like books that are written in a very foreign tongue. Do not now seek the answers which cannot be given to you, because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything. Live the questions now. Perhaps you will then gradually, without noticing it, live along some distant day into the answer. Your doubt may become a good quality if you train it. It must become knowing. It must become critical. Ask it whatever it wants to spoil something for you, why something is ugly. Demand proofs from it. Test it, and you will find it perplexed and embarrassed, perhaps, or perhaps rebellious. But don't give in. Insist on arguments and act this way, watchful and consistent every single time. And the day will arrive when from a destroyer it will become one of your best workers, perhaps the cleverest of all that are at building at your life." Let's hold that for a moment in stillness. Amen, and blessed be.
We are the tradition of the Free Church. Our church and our community outreach are supported not from an outside source, but from within. Generosity, therefore, is one of the spiritual values we recognize as central to our personal and our institutional well-being. We share what is offered every week with an organization that upholds our Unitarian Universalist values. This month, we are helping to empower the dream of the Lilith Fund, which has been in operation in Texas for a number of years, and it supports women who need health care, and now they can't get everything they need, and the Lilith Fund is looking for ways to help them get to places where they can get the health care they need. May an offering be received in gratitude and love.
And would you sing with me our song response?
Song
for faith development. We are all together. So as we're recreating our teams, we're going to be doing community building activities this morning. In the spirit of the question box, in the fellowship hall, you are going to find poster boards with questions on the wall, with Post-its on the tables with pens, and I'd like you to answer the questions and just stick your Post-it onto those posters. It is a way for me to get to know you. So we're all going to be doing that. I also invite you to work with stewardship this morning and to make sure you stop into the adult RE room and help out Vote Forward. We'll see you there.
And now, would you please rise as you are willing and able for our closing hymn, We Laugh, We Cry. And I have simply given you my answers. You can disagree with all of them, and we can talk or not talk about that. You get to decide. May you know joy beyond measure, and may you distribute love extravagantly, ever assured that even on hard days, life is a blessing.
We will now extinguish our chalice. Let us say these words to each other. We extinguish this chalice flame, daring to carry forward the vision of this free faith, that freedom, reason, and justice will one day prevail in this nation and across the earth. And now as we depart, we extend and receive the gift of hospitality by taking the first 5 minutes to talk to someone who we don't yet know very well. May we all know the blessings of friendship and community.